Hi there, I'm Gregory Geffen,
And I am Benjamin Werber.
and we are the Geffen-Werber Law Group.
Along with our title company, Signature Title, we are for more than 2 decades your Florida real estate and title closing attorneys.
This is our video series where we break down some of the hottest topics and frequently asked questions to tell you what you need to know. Today, we are going to tell you what you need to know about the dreaded open permits.
On the expressway to a fast, clean closing, this is something we regularly see as a speed bump.
As most of you know, an open permit is an active permit for certain improvements or structures to your home, such as roof, pool, or an addition. Or it could be for the installation of certain major equipment like an AC, water heater, or a generator, and the permit's not been signed off or closed by the inspector.
Or, more likely, what we see in our practice is an expired permit, which is a permit that is no longer active because it has been more than 180 days since it was issued or since the last inspection.
How does this happen? Well, from what we see, an open permits are the result of work not being completed by the contractor, or failed to schedule final inspections, or sometimes it could just be an administrative oversight like a paper glitch with the county or city to be reconciled. So unfortunately, and particularly in South Florida, a good number of these expired permits can be many years old and pre-exist the current owner, particularly in the case of storm damage repair from the days of Hurricanes Wilma, Jeannie, or most recently Irma, where there were a lot of fly-by-night contractors descended into the area then left just as quickly with loose ends like these hanging around. So what happens in many cases that we're sent contracts and the current owners have no idea about these old permits, and they're not discovered until we're well into the process, which invariably sends everyone scrambling.
The first thing to remember is that these permit issues are not necessarily title issues. They have nothing to do with issuing clear title or the title policy.
These are contract issues between the buyer and seller, and if not corrected, they cause a lot of problems with owners who need to do new work on the property and pull new permits, or they're discovered when they go to sell.
What happened is that over the years, the FAR bar as is, with the right to inspect contract, came to be the normal and customary contract of choice, which is a great contract in many ways.
The only problem is that in our opinion, the industry overlooked that this contract did not require that the seller do any curative work in the event an open or expired permit is discovered, thereby making it the buyer's responsibility to ascertain and address them during the initial inspection period, which could be both unfair and unrealistic. Quite honestly, the contract itself is confusing because the heading in paragraph 12C literally reads seller assistance and cooperation in closeout of building permits, perhaps giving the untrained eye the impression that the seller is going to be required to do something. But it's to the contrary.
You have to actually read through the whole paragraph to get to the end, where what it's really saying is the seller shall cooperate with the buyer's efforts to address these permits, but the seller shall not be required to expend or become obligated to expend any money. What is now done to fix this issue is to simply place the following additional term in the contract, usually in paragraph 20.
Seller, prior to closing and at seller's expense, shall provide a municipal search demonstrating there's no open or expired permits on the property. Seller shall cure all open or expired permits at seller's expense prior to closing.
Okay, so we are now in contract and an open permit came up. Now what?
Well, before we even get to that, and first off, there's some opportunities to be proactive here. If you're a listing agent, you could certainly have a dialogue with your client about any work that they're aware of in recent years and make sure the permits have been closed. These days, more and more counties and municipalities have easier access to self-service permit searches online, and these could certainly help head off issues. If you see here by way of example, we're Googling the City of Delray Beach permit search, and it takes you right to the website where you can enter the address and see the results at your fingertips. A word of caution though, is that online searches should not be a substitute for an official permit response from the city or county, as these permits are often misindexed online and it's not always 100% accurate.
If something does come up, particularly old permits, the first thing the current owner can do is to look to see who the original contractor was and if they are still in business, and see if they can engage him to help them close out the permit.
Alternatively, if the permit is really old, There's a new code in effect that gives these municipalities the discretion to close these administratively. So that's an avenue to explore with the city or county, and we have often had very good success with this.
If it's an expired permit that just requires final inspection and the original contractor is nowhere to be found, the current owner can try to reopen the permit in their name and call in the final inspection.
This often does the trick, but the only problem is that the building departments often want someone to come in and pull plans, and if the final inspection fails due to some corrective work that's needed, perhaps having to bring the improvement up to code, you could be wasting precious time. We recommend that there's a number of contractors who hold businesses to specialize in permanent curative work, and that they be engaged, as they're familiar with the process and what's needed to close these out. They could coordinate any curative work that's needed, and if the permit is structural, they'll often come out to the property and do a site inspection, a pregame, to see if it's up to code before calling in the city.
What if the permit can't be closed in time for the closing?
If the permit can't be closed in time for closing, we normally look at these on a case-by-case basis, depending on what's involved and how extensive the permit is. We'll work with the parties to determine if there's a reasonable escrow that would protect the buyer in the event that additional work is needed or materials are required. So, the running theme in this series of videos is proactivity, and that's certainly prevalent here in the area of open permits, where the more that's handled on the front end, the easier it will be to ensure a smooth closing. I'm Gregory Geffen.
And I'm Benjamin Werber.
And this has been What You Need to Know. We sure hope you enjoyed this video presentation. For more of these on a wide range of topics, please subscribe or visit our YouTube channel, visit our website, or find us on any of the various social media online.